Hello and welcome to the Idiot Explaining bonus episode, the side hustle of the original episode. So this week I'm going to go over exactly what happened before the COVID-19 lockdown of when I used to work in an Apple store, and we'll also have all of the bloopers from last week. So sit back, relax and enjoy this bonus bits. Now, usually on these bonus podcasts, I don't have a script or, I just have something in my mind that I definitely want to talk about. And I rarely want to actually sort of edit these properly as like a proper episode. But this week, I've got a little bit of a script. It's just bullet points of just me remembering exactly what's been going on. So, again, this was all before the lockdown of COVID-19, if anyone remembers that. I guess I'm going to have to do an idiot explaining on on the COVID-19 pandemic. It's going to be one of those sort of really weird episodes if that actually happens. But yeah, I used to work in a phone shop. I used to work in a sort of third-party Apple store. I don't want to say it was an actual sort of Apple store because it really wasn't. Essentially, you have the Apple stores in bigger cities and then the little ones in the smaller cities. So these kind of third-party ones. It's not anything like iCrack or iSmash, one of those sort of weird ones that also has, some sort of smoking area in there as well. I think there was one nearby that there just seems to be loads where I actually worked. So this was in Canterbury in the UK, and for some reason everywhere you go in Canterbury there's either a coffee shop, a cafe or a phone fixing place. It's kind of weird, but I was a part of it. I was slowly a part of it. But this was a third-party Apple store. It was called Stormfront back in the day that I used to work there. It's now called Select. Not entirely sure, what the whole name change was about. Like, Stormfront? What's Stormfront? Or it was maybe something like that. I don't know. I don't know what the name change was for. Maybe there was some sort of big thing about it. I don't really know. But it was a third-party Apple store. So I think they called it like an authorized retailer or something like that. And essentially we had a massive sign on the window that said premium reseller. That was it, premium reseller. And essentially it was an Apple store, but it was in a smaller city. So obviously you've got the Apple stores in like London and like Bluewater and various things like that. And then you have the Stormfront, which is in smaller places. Although I think there were some in London or somewhere near London, but it was the smaller cities generally, like Canterbury and Exeter and things like that. And I was a part of the Canterbury branch, and this was kind of weird because I ended up getting this job just randomly got a call after I submitted my CV over, like, I don't know, I was probably waiting about 4 or 5 months just to hear back, and heard nothing. And then I suddenly got a call of, are you still interested in this job? Yeah, actually, I'm not working right now. I am interested in this job. Okay, can you make an interview in a few days? Yeah, sure, why not? And the way that I actually got the job was I said in my application that I could restart or reset the operating system on a Mac, or I did that for one of my sister's PCs. And that just ended up giving me the job on the spot. And it was a sort of a surreal thing when that happened. It doesn't really happen anymore. not from my experience anyway. But yeah, I was a sales assistant selling phones, smartwatches, laptops, Macs, stuff like that, Mac accessories, iPhone accessories, and sort of all of that. And of course there was this big thing of course you had to sell certain things with these products. Like every time we sold a phone, I had to try and sell, a screen protector, a phone thing that you cover over your phone, like a smartphone cover. I really got a case. There you go. See, I'm not counting any of these out. These are just this is just random stuff. So, screen protector, case, and I also had to try and sell Apple Care, which was always the annoying bit that I remember, because you had to. It was kind of a haggle thing of like, do you want Apple Care? No. Okay, you have to go through this kind of like 3-step thing, and then when you get 3 no's, that is like definite they don't want it. So one of the so basically you had to go, do you want Apple Care? No. Okay, why don't you want this? And they give you the reason, and then you sort of combat that reason, and if they still say no, then you move on and complete the purchase. So often enough, I would get something like, oh, do you want Apple Care with this? No. Okay, why not? It's because I've got insurance already. Oh, that's usually just the worst response that you get is just, oh, I've already got insurance. Oh, have you now? Oh, good, great, cool. What, home insurance? Yeah, okay. And we always say, like, if they haven't got a sort of good reason why they haven't got Apple Care, it's kind of like just sort of smirking in the back of your head, like, you're going to break your phone at some point and you're going to come running back to us, crying back to us, and just... But then it's also like, one of the ones that you would get as well is, oh, do you want Apple Care? No. Oh, why? It's because it's expensive. Really? Really? You think that Apple Care is expensive? Try insuring your car. Especially in 2024. Like, I think my car insurance is like $400. And then my car tax is $100. Like, it's just... But anyway, we can talk about the economy in a future episode. But yeah, and sort of speaking of the economy, like literally the first few months of me sort of going into this phone shop and selling the products, there was a iMac, which was the iMac Pro. I can't remember exactly how many inches it was or anything like that, but I remember that it was quite expensive. I think it was like £5,000 or something very close to that. And literally in the first few months of me being there, I actually ended up selling that iMac, that really expensive iMac, just to a random person. Like, it was kind of strange. I didn't really know the sort of whole entire process, so I didn't realize that the guy wanted it on finance and stuff. But it's always really heartbreaking, or it's always really that sort of thing where it's like when you go through finance and you really want this person to get this product, and they go through finance and you've got this kind of 50-50 of, oh, have they got bad credit? I don't know. I really don't know, because I want them to get the sale, especially if the sale has Apple Care on it, because at some point, this was kind of towards the end of me working there, we ended up getting bonuses if we sold so many products. So I think it was like if we sold 3 Apple Cares or something, we would end up getting a bonus towards the end of the day, or the end of the month. I never got a bonus, by the way. And because I was on 0-hour contract, I never got a holiday either. It was because, I wasn't really there, even though I accumulated holiday hours. Never got it, never even bothered to get it, never even bothered to ask if I could get a full-time or a part-time job over there, just because I was doing a lot of stuff at the time. But yeah, that was one of the things was, if you got screen protectors, there were a few. I think I actually remember maybe getting one or two of those. Apple Care was definitely one because that was kind of a big ticket product. I say product, it was more of a service. I can't remember what else there was. I think it was like, I think it was something stupid, like you had to get 3 MacBooks through, 5 iPads through. It was one of those sort of target things of just trying to get you to sell even more. Never got there. But yeah, the first few months I ended up being one of the people to sell the most expensive iMac at the time. I think I was maybe the 4th or the 5th person to do it. And then obviously people came along and sort of beat that record or beat that price in terms of buying more products and stuff. But then also I remember another time where I actually got shouted at in the first few months of working as well. It was kind of, everything just sort of happened in the first year. It was a bit strange, but yeah, this happened when I was selling products to this family, and they wanted a particular, I think it was a particular watch. It was like a Series 3 watch. I ended up looking at the inventory and seeing, I went through all the processes and stuff. Didn't realize that the watch was a Series 4 watch, so this was a little bit more expensive. And I put everything through. They didn't even clock that it wasn't a Series 3 watch. I put the iPhone through, I put the watch through, it was all paid for. And then the bloke clocked the watch. And I didn't realize that it was it was either a Series 4 or a Series 5. But it was the same style, it was the same brand. It was just the more expensive watch. And he went off on one. He absolutely went off on one. And I went through all the processes of, right, I'll get the manager, we'll sort this out. And it was the most harrowing experience ever, because it wasn't just like, oh, this bloke, got really angry and, we ended up sorting it out eventually. Oh, no, it was more like I was about to get killed. That's how it sounded like, or what it looked like. I was about to be shot. Because, literally, it was, at that point, it was the bloke and the wife. I think one of the kids ended up being near the cashier point as well. I ended up getting my manager. We were trying to sort it out, and he was still shouting at me. He was still having a go at me. And I think at this point, literally, the cashier point, the sort of, it wasn't even really much of a register. It was just a desk. It was sort of one of those white desks that you find in IKEA. It was that kind of weird thing. And literally just surrounding us was the entire family. I swear to you, it was like 7 or 8 people swarming this section of the desk. And it was just this kind of... Oh, I was shaking afterwards. I had to run upstairs and, sort of sit out for like, 10 minutes. Just trying to compose myself. Because it was a really busy day as well. This was before the COVID-19 pandemic, as I said, where everybody just went out to the shops, and it was a really busy Saturday. Saturdays were often the busiest because it was like you were open 9 a.m. till about 6 p.m. Because it was extended times. And yeah, it was a horrendous experience. And I've had these kind of experiences before. We've all had these sort of experiences around Christmas time as well, where people just kept nicking phones, screaming, just trying to break these phone security things, which, funnily enough, before they updated them, it was very easy. It was incredibly easy. Just enough force would have done it. But yeah, it was... Luckily, I was never kind of near when it happens. You just kind of clock it. But every single time a sort of robbery happens like that, there's often one person at the front. So this was like a meet and greet thing at the very front. And you were kind of... Your job was to meet and greet people as soon as they walked in. But obviously, some people that you just kind of avoid, or they avoid you, which is probably why they stopped doing that. But yeah, you just kind of got a lot of people coming in, especially during Christmas time, to try and sort of disrupt stuff. Luckily, all of the actual products were hidden away. These demo products were just demo products, which probably had a very bad battery life and were locked to an account. So what were they going to do with it, really? But yeah, it just sort of, we've had a really good run as well in the couple of years that I worked there, and it was fun. It was fun. Probably the last year, it just ended up being the worst experience of my life, because it was just like, oh, I kind of want to leave, but I also need a job. And then the COVID-19 pandemic happened, and it was like, oh, okay, I've broken free. All right, I am now Freddie Mercury in this house with Foster's cans and Animal Crossing. That kind of got me through the pandemic, I won't lie. But one last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, and this was another customer interaction, and this reason particularly was probably the reason why I've never really went back to retail. Was the last... It was a rainy day, and we don't really often get a lot of customers in rainy days, but yeah, this point was basically one person walked in, and we were all kind of doing training stuff and figuring things out. And there's a particular saying that I still don't understand in the back of my mind, which is the correct response of, are you busy, or are you serving anyone? I still don't get what the proper response is, because I think... So he went up to my side of the register. He said, are you serving anyone, or are you busy? And I said no. And that sort of led to a response of him turning to the other colleagues and me having to correct myself and go, no, that's not what I meant. I meant, I'm not busy at all. I'm here to help you out. What do you need? And we all laughed, and we all just kind of laughed around, and we sort of giggled, because it was, it was a very slow day, and it was a slip up, and he didn't laugh one bit. This old bloke did not laugh one bit. And I ended up serving him. Went through all the things. It was like, okay, how can I help you? All right, here's the product that I want. La 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 la. We go through the whole process and blah 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 blah. And then afterwards, literally before he left, he said this. And I'm not gonna sort of quote this bit by bit, because I can't remember. It was many years ago now. He said to me this, and this is not a direct quote, because I can't remember him. I can't remember exactly what he said. He said, if you were my employee, you'd be fired. Really? I would be fired for making a joke, for me messing up somehow. Do you know what? I wouldn't want to be employed by you anyway, because you sound like a hoot. And by sounding like a hoot, I mean you sound very boring, and any company party I would not want to go to, because you're depressing. To be fair, I wouldn't want to be your employee, because you sound boring. You sound horrendous. You'd sound like a very, very boring boss. But anyway, I don't work there anymore. And I'm kind of glad I don't work there anymore, but there's also a part of me that in my brain that's going, I've not been employed for almost a year now. And I do need a job at some point. but there is no way I'm going back there. Not after those 2 years. It was a very fun few years, but no, I think I like almost liking where I'm being right now. And there you go. That was the story of when I used to be an employee in a Apple store, quote unquote Apple store. Right, now a couple of things before we get to the bloopers. Firstly, next week's episode is on the Euros. Yes, it would be the general election, but I don't want to put myself forward for that. Not quite yet. So we're going to be talking about something that I really know nothing about, which is football. So if you have any questions about that and you want to be featured in the next episode, feel free to email me, rosshore@aol.com. That's the email that I have. Or you can go through the contact details of rosshore.com. Possibly the easiest way to do it. Also follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram. We have posts on there that you can go through as well, and you can leave comments there. Also, one final thing before we get to the bloopers, it's that there is something that I googled not that long ago, and I had no idea this was a thing. It is that the British Podcast Awards are open for listeners' choice, and it's open for a little bit longer at the end of August, I believe. And yes, you can vote for this podcast. Which, again, this podcast is not made by any company. It's not made by a massive company. It's literally just made by me sitting at my desk talking in front of a microphone, and that's it. That's how podcasts start. And this is probably how this podcast is going to end, if I'm honest. But I think it would be absolutely hilarious if this podcast got a Listener Choice Award for the British Podcast Awards. Not just because, it would boost my ego, but in sort of, getting this podcast noticed. So if you'd like to help me in this journey, even if I just get nominated for a British Podcast Award, it would be amazing if it happened. You can vote for me in the listener's choice by going to britishpodcastawards.com/voting. That's britishpodcastawards.com/voting. I'll put it in the description of this podcast as well. If you're listening to this podcast months from now and it's over August, you've missed your chance. But if the British Podcast Awards is still going on and there's still a listener's choice, then still go to britishpodcastawards.com/voting and you may be able to vote for me in years to come. But yeah, we're gonna sort of massively push this, and I think again it'll be absolutely hilarious if it happens. So please vote for this podcast at the listener's choice on the British Podcast Awards. britishpodcastawards.com/voting. Search for Idiotsplaining and it will come up. Then type in your name, email address, and whether you want to get marketing stuff from the British Podcast Awards. Click on submit and then go to your email and confirm your vote. And yeah, let's see if this podcast, even though we're only 2 episodes in, can get a British Podcast Award. I will now leave you with outtakes from episode 2. I will see you next week. Remember, get your questions in by Thursday for the next episode, which will be about the Euros football. I absolutely know nothing about football, so research time will be massive. But yes, enjoy the bloopers, and I will see you next week. Let's start with a little history. Imagine a world where smartphones were just phones. It's not smartphones, it's just phones. Let's start with a little history. Imagine a world where phones were just phones. For the oldies, seriously, calling was slightly quicker. Yeah, kids today don't know how easy you got it. Yeah, kids today don't know how easy you got it. No more getting lost. No more getting bored. So what makes a smartphone so smart? Well, let's break it down into a few sections. The first is touchscreens. The magic of the touchscreen is that it's Secondly, operating systems. Whether you're Team iPhone with iOS or Team Android, your phone's operating system is the real brains behind the beauty. It's the thing that makes all of your apps work together, manages your resources, and occasionally makes you want to throw your phone across the room when it decides to update at the wrong possible time. Third, apps. Speaking of apps, they're like the toppings. No. That sounds wrong. That just sounds stupid. Second to last, yes, we're nearly there. Cameras. Remember when we used to carry separate cameras on vacations? Now our phones have cameras that could give professional DSLR. Second to last, yes, we're nearly there. Cameras. Remember how you used to carry separate cameras on very verifications? Next up, apps. They're like the toppings of your smartphone pizza. Whether you're into social media, gaming, productivity, or turning yourself into a potato on video calls, there's an app for that. And some of them are even baked in. Now I kind of want a baked potato. Second to last, yes, we're nearly there. Cameras. Remember how we used to carry separate cameras on vacations? Well, now our phones have cameras that could give professional DSLRs a run for their money. Plus, with all the filters and editing apps, you can make that slightly blurry photo of your cat look like a masterpiece. Masterpiece? Finally, connectivity. Smartphones connect up pieces. Also, with great power comes great responsibility and a loss of privacy. Your phone knows a lot about you, and so do the companies behind those apps. Yes, even though these companies often say their phones are built for privacy, no. Ugh. Nearly had it. And with great power comes great responsibility and a loss of privacy. Your phone knows a lot about you, and so do the companies behind those apps. Yes, even they. Plus, with all the filters and editing apps, you can make that slightly blurry photo of your cat look like a masterpiece. But can I just ask, what in the name of Snappy Snaps is bokeh? It just sounds like it's part of the Chinese cabbage family. Finally, connectivity. Smartphones connect us to the world through Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G, and sometimes even 6G if you're way part... Alright, shifting gears and talking tips and tricks on what makes the Next up, how can I improve my phone's performance? Well, here's how you do it. This is a massive secret. Regularly... Oh, I'm going to do that again. That was terrible. I'm not going to leave that much of a gap. And finally, why does my phone get so hot? Well, overheating can be caused by extensive tasks. Not extensive, intensive. Read, Ross. Read.